the number 6 seeded Warriors, the defending champs, versus the number 3 seeded Kings. They face off for the 2023 NBA playoffs. First round starting on Saturday night, ABC game. Not only will it be the first time the two Northern California teams face each other in the playoffs, but it's the first time these two teams have been in the playoffs in the same season since the Kings moved from Kansas City in 1985. I love that stat so much. So not only are they in the postseason at the same time, they're going to play each other here, Tass. So we got a couple questions as we break this down. We'll get to our predictions, but Tass, big picture thing here, Kings Warriors, what is one thing that you're going to be watching in this series starting on Saturday?
Well, both teams are going to score a lot. And when it comes down to the fourth quarter, who's going to execute better? I'm going to be watching Foxy, De'Aaron Fox. Can he execute against a guy I think the Warriors are going to put on him to get those stops in Gary Payton II? Late in games, Gary Payton II is not going to start. He's going to be fresh. And they're just going to put him on Fox as much as possible. And Payton can play a lot because even though he's a bit of a liability offensively, the Kings don't really stop anybody. So that's not going to be an issue, I don't think. And I think Gary Payton II's freshness on Fox, the fact that they can just put him on him and stick him on him, might limit the other guys' effectiveness on the Kings offense a little bit as well. So that's the big matchup. Fox, his first postseason, exciting stuff. I do think these games are going to come down to the fourth quarter as much as the Warriors here are favored. The Kings ain't blowing the Warriors out, and the Warriors may blow out the Kings occasionally, but I think Fox is going to have to execute, and everybody's going to be sticking at home, I think, on the Warriors, even though their defense has been stanky. I think GP will be out there. It's going to be a fun matchup. Those two dudes, and the Warriors are happy to have him back, just recently, but he's unlike Wiggins. He's in game shape. And again, because he doesn't start, he'll be fresh at the end of the game. So Foxy versus GP for me.
What do you got?
I think it's the other point guard matchup that's a huge question because the Kings don't have anybody to guard Steph Curry. He went for 33, 6, and 5 against Sacramento this season. Shot 58% from the floor, 50 from 3, 91 at the free throw line. Their best chance, the Kings defensively, is probably like Davion Mitchell. But if he's playing a lot, you're taking one of your 5 starters off the court, also not going to Malik Monk, which really limits their offense, and this is an offense-first team, so I wonder if they just try and put Fox on Curry, let him work as hard as he can, and really overcommit to Steph, try to get the ball out of his hands, force some turnovers, maybe force somebody else to beat them, because you would rather take your chances even with Klay Thompson shooting threes. I mean, he hit 301 threes this season, so it's not a good bet, but it's better than Steph Curry, who should be the best player on the court for the entirety of this series, and it's almost a matter of how can the Kings mitigate that factor, because Fox is going to have to score to negate what Steph is doing, and then make it a little bit tough. Otherwise, Curry's just going to put up 40-point game after 40-point game.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the big guys a little bit. I am really pumped to see Sabonis, who's very likely going to be All-NBA third center, versus Draymond Green, who's always in the running for a Defensive Player of the Year nod. I don't think he's going to win it, but he's going to get some votes. And what I like about it is, Looney will see some action on him too. He's a big body. But Sabonis, when you think about it, he operates a lot like Draymond in that Mike Brown Kings offensive system, sort of as that facilitator. This is going to be a whole lot of screens and dribble handoffs. Like, there's going to be a ton of them to open up the floor for your Foxes and your Currys and then the three-point shooters. But I'm just excited to see Draymond try and battle with Sabonis. That's a big dude. They'll run the dribble handoff action. He'll get it to his guys to then splash out to three-point shooters. But then if nothing happens there, he doesn't like it, he will just take a guy in the post. Draymond's an ox, though, too. I mean, this is two. He's obviously not as tall as Sabonis, but Jesus, a smart defender and a strong defender at that. So I just wonder, too, like foul trouble coming into play. Can they put pressure? Can Sabonis put pressure on Draymond Green? Maybe play him off the floor a little bit, because then that'll open things up for Sacramento. I'm just pumped for that sort of one-on-one battle. Again, Looney will be on him, don't get me wrong, but there will be a ton where Draymond is sort of the main guy on Sabonis.
Yeah, it's interesting how deep the Warriors are going to be able to go if Green gets in foul trouble. That's a big if. He should be smart enough to be able to stay on the floor. But will you be able to even throw Wiggins on there? Wiggins hasn't played in months. Will he be able to just get out there and be half Andrew Wiggins? And the good thing about Wiggins getting back to himself for the Warriors is that he won't have to be on the best players for the Kings. He can start on Harrison Barnes or Keegan Murray or guys that are sort of the secondary type guys. And And because the Warriors are going to score, they're not going to rely too much on Wiggins offensively. So I think he can slowly get going. And if Wiggins is going to be, like half Andrew Wiggins' capabilities, that's just bad news for the Kings, I think. If he can play just both ends, because they can do so much more. Let's say Green goes down defensive or goes down into foul trouble. Instead of Kuminga that you're going to bring out or somebody as a smaller backup, you can play Wiggins more if he plays. So I assume Wiggins is going to get going, quarter number one, possession number one, and get himself into the series pretty quick.
Yeah, to go back to your Gary Payton II comment too, putting him on Fox. We look at this series and we go, well, the Kings don't play defense. They are of all the teams in the playoffs, they have the worst defensive rating, but the best offensive rating, as we showed you. And then you go, well, the Warriors aren't great defensively either. They're middle of the pack this season. They've sort of disappointed. Part of that probably championship hangover, and they're we'll turn it on when we get to the playoffs, which I assume they will. But also, since Gary Payton II has come back in the last 2 weeks, I think they had the best defense in the league. Then you're adding Andrew Wiggins. We don't know what, level he's going to be at, how long it's going to take for him to get into that sort of game shape. You'd think it would come quicker maybe on the defensive end, being an athlete, than it would on the offensive end, finding a shot. But, that's scary for the Kings. I guess what I'm getting at here is if, there was no Gary Payton II, if there was no Wiggins, maybe it's, a lot tighter. But, man, those guys, just help make the Warriors' middle-of-the-pack defense back into sort of, an elite defense. And that's a scary part, I think, for Kings fans.
I don't think the Warriors have a middle-of-the-pack defense. I think they're going to be one of the best defenses in the playoffs because they elevate it for the playoffs, whereas the Kings, I don't really think they can get to another level. They've been trying to get to another level for the past 5 seasons, and they're staying in the bottom 5. So it's going to be tough. They're going to have to outscore them, which the Kings certainly can do because they can at least shoot with the Warriors. They're going to have 4 shooters on the court almost all the time. And then, like you're saying, Sabonis versus the couple of bigs.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about Sabonis. He hasn't been very good in the playoffs in his career. Under 10 points per game, under 5 rebounds, under 2 assists. Pretty bad stuff. He was playing on a Pacers team that had a lot of people just standing in the middle. But he can be taken out of the game a little. And I think Looney probably starts on him and takes a huge chunk of it to keep him off the glass and to let Draymond help and just gunk up things in the middle because he's good enough to challenge a shooter in the corner and help in the middle at the same time.
All right, let's move over to Kings Warriors X Factor. Trey, you get us started. Who you got your eye on here for either team?
Well, I think Gary Payton II is the biggest X factor in the series, probably alongside Dante DiVincenzo, just because that gives the Warriors the best chance of guarding De'Aaron Fox. But you touched on it a little bit, Tass, with Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray. They're going to get shots in this series because the Warriors will do everything they can to take Fox out of the game and to take Sabonis out of the game, which then leaves open looks for Keegan Murray playing in his first postseason of all time. In their biggest game of the year when he was trying to break the rookie record for threes. The Kings were trying to clinch their first playoff berth. He went 1 for 8. Does he turtle once the lights are bright? Maybe. How does Harrison Barnes respond playing against his former team?
Yeah.
A guy who's been really solid for the Kings this season, gets to the free throw line, hits open threes. They're going to need that. They're going to need a third scorer outside of Fox and Sabonis because there will be times when the Warriors make the Kings do anything else besides what they want to do. Are those guys ready? Maybe so. If they show up in 4 games, the Kings have a chance.
Yeah, those vets, to me, Barnes and throw in Kevin Huerter there. I call him a vet because he has had playoff experience with the Atlanta Hawks. Those 2 guys to take pressure off Sabonis and Fox. Yeah. Because Sabonis needs those dudes to just stay on the floor and not get shut down and have a little bit of space. That's, to me, the biggest Kings factor. Besides, the Warriors, if they play to their capabilities, they should be the favorites. But I guess in all the chats about this series, people don't think the Kings can get to the level that they were playing at. Or if they have another level, they just have to play to that level, I think, and then this will be a series. The level that they played at all season long. Will they have a home court advantage in this series? I think that's another big question. It's 90 minutes away from Chase Center in Golden State. There will be fans from Golden State. Yeah. I know Sacramento fans are going to show out. There's no doubt. But the Warriors will have fans in the building, and their old legs will be helped by not flying, I think, as well.
They keep talking about this. I wanted to get your take on it. Draymond especially is we want to play Sacramento, and everybody's like, oh, they want to play Sacramento because they've never been there. They're going to kick their ass. but they're really saying, no, we want to play them because we don't have to get on a plane. And it's great. We can just jump on a bus and we can sleep in our own beds.
Yeah, is it reachable via boat?
I don't know.
Klay Thompson loves to sail.
Yeah, that's the funny thing with even Klay. Like, we won't even talk about Klay. As you said, they're going to try and take away Steph. Klay's been on frickin' fire. And I do think, I think the old legs, that plane thing is real. Just because they know that they haven't lost a series in the Western Conference. Like, Steve Kerr has never lost a Western Conference series ever. So they are so frickin' confident that these little dumb things like not getting on a plane, that's good for that's like we know how we can play to this level, this exceptional level, and yes, getting in a car and driving for 90 minutes and not having to get on a plane and do that crap, I think is good for them. And the whole road record of 11-30 for them kind of goes out the window, especially because the Kings don't have an incredible home court advantage. You think, without looking at the stats, their arena is going to be bumping, but pretty average offensive home court advantage at 23
Been one
and
of the
18.
better road teams the Sacramento Kings have.
Yeah.
During the season.
Totally.
One of the X factors, I did a ton of reading about this series. I'm sure you guys did as well. Like, you're looking for the articles and maybe listening to other podcasts. And I didn't find one thing that felt like written about Jordan Poole. Like, you're bringing up all the big names. We've gone through like 10
we haven't mentioned Jordan Poole.
I know. And I didn't see his name mentioned in anything I read for this. And I was like, what the hell? I know he's had a very weird season, up and down. But I think he is a bit of an X factor. Maybe not even in this series, but moving forward for the Warriors and their chances to repeat as champions.
Are you looking ahead?
I possibly am. But, like, looking back, do you remember what Poole did in the first 2 rounds last season? He was on fire. Now, he started in the first round series versus the Nuggets because Curry was coming off the bench, coming back from injury. Poole averaged 29-5 in the first 3 games in that series. They won all 3 of them. And then he sort of tailed off as that series went on. They had it wrapped up. In the next series against the Grizzlies, coming off the bench, Poole he averaged 26-5-5 in the first 3 games. And they took a 2-1 lead starting on the road in Memphis. My point is he was like instrumental in them getting off to great starts in these games, in these series, and then going on to win the title. And it's like, what type of Poole are we getting here? I mean, he's going to play, of course. He could have these 30-point games in him, for sure. But he could have his stinkers where he goes 3 for 12 and he forces the action and there's some bad turnovers and Warriors fans get on him. So I just think, like, I'm not sure he's an X factor really to get by the Kings here, but I think in the grand scheme of things here, looking at like 16 games to win the title, he's going to play a part, either helping or hurting them, I think. Yeah.
I think Monk versus Poole is kind of a swing matchup here off the bench because both teams really good starting lineups. I don't know, maybe, I don't even know who you give the advantage to off the bench. Probably the Warriors, just because they do have Poole and they've got experienced guys, whereas with the Kings, you're kind of just hoping Malik Monk has an incredible shooting night. He's had a lot of great nights, and he's a really high volatility player. Like you're saying, Poole can have terrible nights where he's just taking the worst heat checks, and the turnovers to me are almost a worse problem with him than taking bad shots. But if Monk can outplay Poole when everybody's in bench mode, that is huge because the Warriors starting lineup, no doubt, is better than the Kings starting lineup. So they need Malik Monk to be better than Jordan Poole to have a chance, I think.
Kings Warriors predictions. Task, get us started. Where are you going?
I'm definitely going with the Golden State Warriors. I've been deliberating how many the Kings can take. I'm going to buy into, even though the Warriors have been playing really well, just the entirety of the season, how the Kings have been playing, I'm going to say the Warriors are going to win in 7.
Wow.
Which, it's weird because it'll be on the road, obviously, in Sacramento. Just having a little faith in the Kings. Maybe a little too much faith. But according to the betting odds, the Warriors are the heavy favorite and to win in between 5 and 6 games. I'll give a little respect to the Sacramento Kings. Hopefully they can execute, and hopefully Domantas Sabonis has learned from a lot of those Pacers days because they were bad. Getting into the play-in tournament in years past, he just wasn't anywhere close to himself. So the Barnes effect, the Herter effect, combined with Sabonis, I think they hopefully have enough veteranship. And a little bit of rust from the Warriors, like Wiggins, but. I'm not even buying myself as I say it. I think the Warriors could end it quicker, but I'll give them 7.
Okay, Warriors in 7, says Tass. What about you, Trey?
I got the Warriors in 6. I think they win game 1 on the road, and home court advantage is gone for the Kings. Just like that, the Warriors will end up celebrating after a 1-1 going back to Golden State. We did all we needed to do. Win a road game there, just like we always do. So I think the experience will play a factor here. I think getting into the playoffs is going to be a different beast. For the Kings, things always slow down, much like they did for the Nuggets once upon a time when they were the fastest team in the league, the greatest offense, and then they got to the playoffs. Things slowed down a little bit, but awesome season for the Kings. Tough matchup in the first round, playing basically their big brother. Like, the Kings want to be the Warriors. That's 100% what they want to do, is rip off everything they did to become a dynasty. So, good place to start, but now you're seeing the real thing.
Yeah. Okay, so Warriors in 7, Warriors in 6. I agree with you that, I mean, if I could bet on this, I would right now, that the Warriors will win one of those 2 games in Sacramento. Could be game 1. It's going to be game 1 or 2. I don't see Sacramento holding home court at all, because that's what the Warriors do. Despite this shitty regular season road record, they're going to win one of those games. I actually see a lot of similarities to this series to, and you'll remember this, Task, the 2014 playoffs when our Raptors finally snapped like a pretty bad playoff drought. It wasn't nearly as bad as 16 years for the Kings, but it had been like 5 or 6 years. The Raptors hadn't sniffed the playoffs. They finally had a good year. Their whole thing was we the North that year. We got the Kings with the light, the beam. The Raps won 48 games. Here are the Kings with a similar record. They won the divisions, both of those teams. They were the number 3 seed in their conference. And who did the Raptors get? They got the Brooklyn Nets in the 3-6 matchup. Now, that was the Nets where it was all the old guys. It was your Paul Pierce. It was your Joe Johnson, your Darren Williams, your Kevin Garnett. The guys that have been through the ringer, maybe not with the Brooklyn Nets in that case, but had won some championships, had some playoff success, just been there, done that. And I feel like that's what's maybe going on here. But I know I took the Raptors in that series to beat the Nets. I'm doing the exact same thing here because I'm an idiot. Kings in 7, just because I want to believe it. My head says Warriors in 6, but my heart says Kings in 7.
So play both sides. I like
that. Exactly. No, Kings in 7. Kings in 7. I'll remember that. Why not? Why not? They just got to outscore them, outgun the greatest three-point shooting backcourt we've ever seen in history.
Yeah, they got to win. The Kings have to win on the road because they
can do that. That's not. I 100% believe they can match. I think this will be a 2-2 series after 4. With both
and so you think they would lose 5 and 6 in a your head is saying Warriors in 6. If it's 2-2, the Warriors would have to go to Sacramento and win Game 5.
I'm pretty confident that they're going to be. Well, look, I agree with Trey. It's like I said, this is the Golden State Warriors. We just know they're going to go to another level, and we're all sitting here going, "Can the Kings do that?" I like that Mike Brown obviously was with the Golden State Warriors. Does that help a little bit? I like that they faced some adversity this year. Remember the Kings started 0-4 again, and we're like, oh, God. They rallied. Like, they've got some backbone to them. And that fan base is going to be rabid. Like, that will... Unfortunately, it won't matter because I believe they'll lose one of the first 2 games, but Jesus. They haven't been on ABC since, like, I don't know when. The mid-2000s. Probably. Never. I don't even think
they didn't get an ABC game this year?
I don't think so.
There was like 4.
I don't think
so.
Yeah,
there were many.
There was like 3 weeks of games.
The thing with the Warriors is they don't even really have to get to another level at home. They're 33-8 at home. They're so good at home. So if they win, obviously, if they win games 3 and 4 after stealing 1, then it's over in 6. I feel like the Kings can. To get to 7, they have to go steal 1, obviously, because I feel like they're going to lose 1 at home. So I do believe that they can steal 1.
Because of the offensive firepower in this series, though, like, don't go turning off this game when... Hey, I'm talking to you, Grish, my buddy Grish. Don't go turning off this game when somebody's up 15, 16 points, midway through the second quarter. It won't matter, I don't think, with these 2 teams. With the way they can shoot, the way they can score. It could be gone. And especially the way the Warriors sometimes get sloppy with the ball as well. Like, they'll let teams back in the game, and I think the Kings can take advantage of it. So I'll go Kings in 7. Obviously, it's wishful thinking, but I'm just hoping they make some noise here, and at least we get a series.